into another edition of the Kanawha Valley Sports Notebook. I'm your host, Taylor Kennedy, and thank you all for however you are watching or listening to this program. You can find us on any of your audio platforms, including Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. And we are on YouTube, and we are now on the WV Gazette Mail website. So go check out our website, wvgazettemail.com, for not only this podcast, but for all of our other digital content, whether it be looking back at Training Camp Confidential or our latest and weekly 40-yard dashes. And this week we traveled to Winfield, and I spoke with the head football coach of the Winfield Generals, head coach Eddie Smolder. As normal, a packed show for you all today. In this first segment, we're going to go over a lot of different things, so bear with us here momentarily. But in our next segment, we're going to be joined by the George Washington Patriots head football coach, Steve Edwards Jr. GW is off to a hot start, 3-0 on the season, with wins over St. Albans, John Marshall, and Cabell Midland. The win over the Knights last Friday was a fantastic game, 21-13 the final. Hunter Giacomo scored 2 of the 3 touchdowns for the Patriots to give them the 21-13 victory last Friday night up on the Hill. Before we go any further, let's take a look back at the Player of the Week for Week 3 of the high school football season. There were a lot of great candidates, and amongst the sports writers, we had a very interesting debate and conversation about whom it should be. But here is our pick, and it is Winfield's Easton Pinkerton. Pinkerton had a fantastic game against the Chapmanville Tigers last Friday night in Putnam County, where he tallied 198 total yards of offense, with 136 of those coming in the run game, and he also had 2 total touchdowns, 1 coming in the air and 1 coming on the ground. So congratulations to the Generals' senior quarterback for head coach Eddie Smolder. Coming up in our final segment as well, we will go over the Week 3 stats leaders, who sits amongst top among everybody else in passing, receiving, and rushing. We'll go over that and much more coming up here on the Kanawha Valley Sports Notebook.
From middle school, I remember having a conversation with my sister and telling her that I wanted to be a counselor.
The passion's always there to help someone who's vulnerable and help someone who needs a little guidance along the way.
I try to find things in common with them. A lot of times for me, it can be anything from not dressing up to just, like I said, meeting them where they're at. Literally, that's our motto. We meet you where you are.
My energy is just, I try to make it feel so welcoming.
I think the big thing with me is it's always what's in the best interest of the client.
I try to be very open-minded. This is whatever you need, I'm here to help you with.
Welcome back into the third episode of the 2024 edition of the Kanawha Valley Sports Notebook. I'm your host, Taylor Kennedy, and we are pleased to be joined by veteran GW boys head football coach, Coach Steve Edwards Jr. Coach, welcome to the program.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you being here.
Off to a hot start, 3-0 to start the season. What's kind of been working well for you guys this year?
Just the kids are very cooperative. I mean, they're doing a good job. They're playing hard. They're executing very well right now. So, you're dealing with young kids. You never know when that's going to stop. But we're enjoying it right now. So that's for sure.
You guys had lost some key players last year. Are you kind of surprised at the productivity you guys have gotten this year from some new players, for that matter? We'll talk about some of the players here in a couple of minutes, but are you surprised with just overall productivity you've gotten across the board?
No, not really. I mean, I knew I had a pretty good bunch. The thing was getting them to believe they're pretty good, and also getting them in the right spots. Trying to, it's not an exact science. We're still fiddling around with some of that right now, but. When the kids come in, they cooperate. They got good attitude, and that makes a big difference. They're easier to coach, and we're having a good time with it right now, and the kids are having a good time, and hopefully we can make it last as long as we can.
You talk about the belief side of things. How do you kind of go about making a team believe that they're good enough to win really big ball games? Which we'll talk about the Midland game here in a couple of seconds. But how do you kind of go about selling that, and then also going on with that as well and trying to sell your team over?
Well, I don't know whether there's any magic formula or anything like that, because if there was, I'm certainly not going to tell you. I'm going to write a book on it, and I'm going to make a lot of money. But no, there's not. It's just the kids have to take charge. If the kids take charge of their own locker room and their own group, and you can stay consistent as a coach. I think staying consistent is what we preach, and try to practice what we preach, not just make it lip service. And I think that you get a little lucky, some good things start happening, rolling. I think that's basically a formula for that. Now, how you get that to happen, I don't know. A lot of it's chance, but you stick with the formula of if you play hard and you work hard, good things will happen. I mean, you make your own luck.
You talked about that win last week against Cabell Midland. 21-13 was the final. You guys rallied from a 7-point deficit there in the fourth quarter, scored 21 straight points. That's kind of along the lines of what we're saying right now. They believed that they could win. Wasn't really working well for them in the first couple of quarters, but then in that fourth quarter, something clicked on. What did you like about your team?
Well, I liked it. They never wavered. I mean, we were down 7-0 at half. They went in at halftime, and they no one was hanging their head, nobody was griping and moaning. Only thing they were doing was, hey guys, we're still in this game. We can win this game, and basically no magic thing we said or anything like that. The kids took over and they talked to each other and they talked amongst the group. When it's not a secret. When it's a team-led locker room, you have a better chance to fight through some adversity and things. And I had a few seniors, good leadership, took over. They talked the talk, and when they came out in the second half, they walked the walk. And as a coach, that's what you hope happens. That's what you like to see happen. Sometimes it doesn't always happen, but when it does, it's a lot of fun. It's good. We
talked before, that win against the Knights was your all's fourth all-time win against them, and now you guys are 3-0 for the first time since 2011. What does a win like that against the Knights kind of do for you guys heading into the midway point of the season?
Well, I hope it does a lot positively with us. I'm not sure how it's going to affect. You just play every ball game that old cliche, the one at a time deal, and you try to do the best you can. I hope it gives the kids good confidence. I think that they really truly believe, and I think I had a small faction that really believed, and I think the faction has grown into the whole unit, the whole locker room area, that they really believe that we got a chance to be pretty good, and we might be pretty good, and but you got to prove it every week. I mean, every Friday night, like I tell them, everything you do is final. It's a final. There's no redos. There's no. At 10 o'clock, whatever happened, that's it. There's no going back. You can't change it. So you just prepare the best you can, and you study the best you can, and whatever that score is, it's a final, no matter what.
What do you want to see from your team in these next couple of games as we do enter the midway point of the season?
I want to see us get a little bit better. We got to get better. I want to continue to grow. And to grow offensively and to grow defensively, and also to grow maturity, and find some guys that are right on the cusp of being giving us some more depth. And if we can do that and just stay healthy, that's what I'm looking for us to continue to get better. We were a lot better this past week than we were when we were at John Marshall, and I even go back to St. Albans. We really improved. So if we can continue to improve, that gives ourselves a better chance to have some successful evenings.
You talk about the depth side of things. How do you kind of go about finding depth while you were going throughout the season? It's easier in the off season, but how do you go about doing that during the season?
Well, you try to play as many JV games as you can, and that's hard to do sometimes. It's hard to do when you have a small ball club. It's also hard to do when you have a small staff. But you try to play as many as you can and get the kids to believe that you're getting better, right. And I've got to see if you can get better. You're right there, and try to stay healthy. So it's a fine line. We're walking a fine line there all the time. But you're trying to find the depth, and you have to have the depth. We're a 4A school with probably 2A depth in a lot of spots. And playing JV games, it's because you have 50 kids or 45 kids or 60 kids. Sometimes you might not only have 2 quarterbacks, or you might not have a couple running backs. we've run into that situation before, and you just can't. Sometimes you can't get them the games that you need to get them in. So I think that's very important for developing our kids, developing to be able to play on Friday nights, and also them buying into they have to practice hard. It's hard. It's hard to go out there and practice, and when you're running, say the kids that will be South Charleston this week in our practice sessions, it's hard getting them to go hard like that, but if they're doing a really good job of it, and we've been doing a good job, our practices have been good, and if we continue to do that, I think that's how we help ourselves find some depth. I mean, it's hard. It's not again, I keep going back to the same thing. It's not an exact science to it. It's just you got to be lucky a little bit.
You talk about the senior leadership side of things. I mean, obviously last year you had guys like Abe Fenwick, Aiden Ellis, that were really two big pieces to that. But now you have some guys stepping up in the senior leadership. Kind of talk about those guys and just kind of give them a shout out. But also, what have they meant to this program as well? Well,
they meant a bunch. I mean, you got guys like Braden Lude, and you got Gunnar Flores and Hunter Giacomo and Sai'Vyon Brown and Landon Bird. And, I can go on, but Solomon Farrell. Those are guys, some of those guys are GW guys, and some of those guys came from other places, but they became GW guys. And you can't ask for any more. I mean, we didn't get anybody in this transfer thing. I think we lost 9 kids. And to get those kids really have good character. I mean, they stuck with it, man. They saw guys leave. They saw guys get out for whatever reason, but they stuck around, and they believed in themselves, and they believed in what we were doing here, and you can't ask for any more than that. I mean, that's what I call good leadership. That's what I call good character, and that'll carry a long way, not only on Friday nights, and that's in life. I mean, they found a home, they found a place, and they stuck with it, and there's a lot of pulling going on out there. I mean, there's a lot. And I really appreciate that, and the coaching staff appreciates that. And I think that that gets passed up a lot in times of kids making those type of decisions because it wasn't easy. But it's paying off now. So for all of us.
Right. So you guys got a game this weekend, an MSAC game. It used to be a really big rivalry game, as you guys will play South Charleston this Friday night. Just kind of talk about that matchup. What are you kind of seeing from South Charleston this season compared to what you saw last year?
Well, I mean, they some nice-looking kids. I mean, and I think they're probably a little bit better than they were last year, and they're very capable. They're going to get somebody. I just don't want it to be me. And, we'll have to prepare just like we always prepare. We preach all the time, you got to respect your opponent. If you don't respect your opponent, you end up sometimes on the short end of the stick. You want to play good. You want to play hard, and you want to play 4 quarters. And regardless what the scoreboard says, you just want to be on top of it. You want to have the higher point system on the score. And if you can do that, you're fine. But South Charleston's been a rival. I don't know whether it's as big a rival as it was when I was growing up and coming up through here, but it is a rival game. And whenever you play an MSAC school, or these guys know these guys, they go shopping. I mean, they're on now social media is like, I mean, they know everybody, first name basis. Right. That didn't go on when I was in school, but
things were a little different back then.
Way different. And but I was getting ready to say they shop at the mall together. There is no mall. It's all on the phone. So, but it is. I mean, they know everybody. They know those kids, and it's it's a good friendly rivalry, and but again, sometimes it's a little more important to us older guys, that rivalry part. But the kids like playing on Friday night, and they'll show up. They'll show up.
That kind of, you mentioned the old-fashioned rivalry side of things, and I've been interested and curious as to what coaches think. And a guy like you've coached for 28 years now in high school football here at GW. Why do you think we're not seeing those old-fashioned rivalries be as authentic as what they were, in the 80s or 90s, or even further back than that? Or even, take it back from this angle too. You look back at the 2010s matchups with you guys in South Charleston, and also throw Capital in that mix. Why are we not seeing that energy as much anymore for these rivalry games?
Gosh, I don't know. Everybody has an opinion. One of my opinions is that society has changed. it's not looked upon. I mean, everybody's a nice guy. I mean it is, and you don't want to look at it as barbarian or anything like that. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But I also think the familiarity. They're a little more familiar with guys. I knew guys that played on the other teams, but I didn't hang around guys, and we certainly didn't chat, and we didn't talk, and those type of things. And it was you didn't really socialize with a lot of those guys. So, but things have changed. It's a little more friendlier time. It's a little more familiar time. Kids have a little bit more information, and it's really hard. It's really hard to say, but to us older guys, I mean, it's still GW South Charleston. It's not good. So, but I think they think that way, but not in the not the way I don't think he did. And the reason for that, there's tons of reasons, but I don't have the answer to that either.
Let's talk about a couple of your players. You mentioned a couple of them just on the senior leadership side of things. Let's start with Sai'Vyon Brown. Obviously, he had a fantastic game, over 90 yards rushing for you guys. I believe 12 carries, 19 carries, 94 yards for you guys, or 92 yards against Midland. What's different about him this season? I mean, what's changed in who he is as a football player?
You know, I think he has enjoyed his time here at George Washington. I think he's found himself a little bit. He's matured, and he has really turned into a really good leader. I think when kids make that switch and make that move, sometimes it's hard to fit in. It's hard to find your niche, you know, and leaving some of your old ways and but he's really totally bought in, and it's worked well for him. He wears it very well, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that he's here. He texts me on a regular basis. He has a good pulse of the team. He's really my voice right now. Gunner and Gunner are pretty much the voice, and they are always in constant contact, and I'm very appreciative of that. They keep the guys in line.
You talk about Gunner, and you guys seem to move him around a lot, just both offensively and defensively for that matter. He carried the ball some, got some crucial first downs as we talked about last Friday. But what has Hunter meant to this year's team, just in regards to how valuable he is on both sides of the football?
Gunner or Hunter?
Gunner.
Gunner is he's another kid that's matured a lot. He has embraced the leadership role. And when I'm talking about guys talking the talk and walking the walk, he's one of those guys. And he's a little more old school than that. He's more my style. And but he does. I mean, he's a guy that kids look up to, and because he not only preaches it, but he does it in practice. He does it in games. He does it on and off the field. He's well liked by the kids in the school. He just and he can do a lot of things, and he's just a really good kid, and he's a good football player. I mean, just one of those type of guys that you like to be around.
Now let's talk about Hunter Giacomo.
Okay.
And he had the final 14 points for you guys, another 90-plus yard game for him against Midland last Friday. What about Hunter's really impressed you about what he's meant, not only this season, but just in his career in general, being a Patriot?
Well, I think there's a kid that has stuck with it. His two brothers played here. His family and I've known him for a long time. I knew him when he was just a baby, and so I'm very appreciative of that relationship, and I'm appreciative of the way he works. You talk about a kid with work ethic. There's nobody works any harder, has worked any harder to have success than Hunter Giacomo. I mean, the kid has devoted his youth to getting better and being the best football player as he can be. And he's also handled a lot of ups and downs. I mean, he's an example of a guy that works really, really hard, and good things finally happen. They don't happen instantly, and sometimes you have to still believe because sometimes you don't think it's coming. But he is getting his just rewards, and I couldn't be happier for a young man. I mean, and he's playing right to his potential. I mean, he made two big 2 big stops, 2 big hits, caused 2 fumbles. I mean, he's led us in tackles, and he's running the football. And I've always known he could run the football. But they're playing with more confidence that's coming on. But he has really, you talk about a kid that's earned it. He's earned for good things to happen to him. Very proud of him.
Let's talk about the quarterback room. And obviously you've had Hayden Hinkle get the majority of the snaps. He got injured against Midland. You say that he's ready to go again this week, but Cy Persinger stepped in through back-to-back 40-yard passes, including a 43-yard touchdown to Solomon Farrell. When you look at those 2 guys, giving those guys both snaps and getting them in the game as much as possible, getting that game reps, what have you kind of seen them in regards to their progression throughout these first couple of weeks?
Well, Hayden had showed good confidence and he progressed a little bit faster. But I've talked about character and I've talked about maturity. The reason that Cy was able to perform the way he performed when he came in is he handled the situation very mature. He didn't pout. He didn't whine. He was a good teammate. He stayed what we call into the game, not just at the game, and was able to come in and produce. And that's the thing as a coach. You try to get out of your kids. What can you do for the team? I mean, what are you going to do for the team? It's not like what I should be doing or what when I get to do. When you do it, what are you going to do? I mean, and he did what he needed to do. A lot of it was him, the way he handled this whole situation, and they both have handled this situation very maturely. They're each other's. I mean, they're giving each other high fives and they just want to win. If you get a group of guys that just want to win, and that's basically what I got now. I got guys. I'm not worried. They're not worried about how many carries they get, how many yards they get, who's recruiting me. That you talk about a blessing. That's a blessing, and it's a weight off of my shoulders and all of our shoulders, and it's boding well for the team. It really is.
A couple more for you. Let's talk about Team 60 as you're wearing your shirt, Team 60. This is the 60th anniversary of George Washington football. You and your dad have had a footprint in this program for a long time. Just to kind of be able to continue the legacy of George Washington football as you guys enter the 60th year and go through the 60th year of GW football. What's it kind of mean for you just to be able to accomplish what you guys have thus far and just looking forward to continuing to represent this program well?
Well, I'm just very humbled and I'm very lucky to be in this situation I am. GW and the South Hills community, the city of Charleston has been a big part of my life. Now, I haven't been here forever. It seems like it. But I have been with the family. It's just a great opportunity for me because I really care about GW football. And I care about what I watched my dad and his staffs put in the long hours and the time. Everybody said you can't win at GW. Well, I mean, and I heard the same thing that Big Steve heard, and it's when things like that happen, and you're able to prove some people and prove things wrong a little bit differently. You know, we have been able to win at GW, and we've won a lot of games here, and Dad was able to win a state championship, and for me to pass along to these kids and these teams that I've coached the past 28 years, we do some things that maybe some other teams don't, or some kids that nowadays that you would think that have those computers and their phones or cell phones and all that stuff. I mean, singing a fight song. I mean, I guarantee you when they come in as a ninth grader, they're like, oh, I got to know the fight song. Well, let's do a sing the fight song. We sing the fight, and it's something that's proud. And these guys that are on this wall right here that came back, I mean, just they couldn't wait to sing the fight song. So those are type of things, and knowing where they came from and knowing who built the team and getting a chance to meet some of those guys. That's what it means to me. It's more than just football games. It's more than just GW football. It's a life. It's something that's going to last their whole life and their memories here. And I just want them to have a good time like I did. It was a blast for when I played, and I was fortunate enough to play major college football, but there was nothing like Nothing like high school football. It was nothing like it. Nothing I remember more than my friends that I had then. So I'm just fortunate enough to be maybe get one or two of them to feel the way I do. So that's basically what it's meant to me and my family. It's a big part of everything we've done.
These last couple of minutes, let's talk about this reclassification stuff, because there were a number of teams, 22 teams to be exact, that dropped down just a couple of weeks before the high school football season started, 5 of which are teams that were on your schedule, and that really determines now the playoff point situation that you guys are in. They were once 15-point teams, now they are 12-point teams. Mm-hmm. What does that kind of do for you guys now moving forward from a scheduling perspective? I mean, are these teams still going to be on a schedule for a team like yourself whenever you do have so many local teams that are now in AAA, or how does that dynamic work?
Well, I really don't know, and it's something that I don't think people who, I guess, make those decisions over me really thought about. There's a lot of things that go into this. The one thing, getting back to when we scheduled, those 5 teams were 4A. Now they're not. I don't understand the reasoning that the point system for us doesn't stay the same. Now they're going to say, well, all 16 teams get into the playoffs. Yeah, okay, but you're wanting to position in the playoff. I mean, you want the best you can get. You will still try to get a home game, and not having that points could hurt you a little bit, and it could hurt the opponent you're going to have to play in the first round. The other point is I don't know whether we're big enough to be 4 classes. I know I'm not a very smart guy, especially not in math or anything like that. But I just, with losing enrollment all the time, and I just don't see where it's a need. The other point is scheduling. If I was a 3A school, I wouldn't want to schedule a 4A school. Not unless I have to. And now you're going to get into that now. So I'm going to 4 to 5 of the teams that are way up in the Panhandle, 6.5, 7-hour drives for a Friday night football game. Who's paying that trip? And who's coming to see those games? Those are things that we're going to have to look at, and I think they're big factors. I know they're big factors for my program. We don't make a lot. Not a lot of money. It's expensive. So it's expensive as it is. So it's something I don't know. I don't know whether St. Albans is going to still want to play, that they're 3A, or Capital, whatnot. They're going to look. I know Hoover's not going to play, and you know what I mean. And so you're going to have to travel. The bigger schools will play, but you just don't know. We're all going to have trouble finding games. Right. Eventually, especially if is the conference going to stick together? Yeah. I don't know that either.
Good point.
So I don't know whether the MSAC. With the MSAC, I've stayed in the MSAC, but for that reason of having to find games. Now that we are all on different A's, I don't know. I don't know. So there's a lot to be discussed. There's a lot that I hope that they get some of the right people to help make those decisions, instead of guys that sometimes not as close to it as the others. So we'll see. I don't know. I can't. Another one of those questions I can't answer. I got a lot of opinions, but can't answer it.
And finally, you've been around the game of football in this state for a while now. You've been able to see the highs and the lows of football here in West Virginia. With the evergreen feeling, meaning with the high school sports in general, it seems to be like it's the backbone outside of your 2 universities in WVU and Marshall in regards to Division I athletics. But do you think, in regards to high school sports in this state, do you think it's almost losing its evergreen feeling with all these different changes, with this transfer rule, the reclassification shifting happen almost every year? Is high school sports in West Virginia losing its evergreen feeling? I
don't know whether it does or not. It's a good question. And it might if you're just talking about it like we are. Mm-hmm. But when you show up on Friday night at a stadium, it doesn't seem to anybody gives a hoot. It's Friday night football at your stadium, in your neighborhood, in your community, and there's nothing like it. And I think that still is going to speak volumes over anything else we can discuss at a table. Mm-hmm. So I guess that's the best answer I can give.
That'll do it for this interview with Coach Steve Edwards Jr., the head football coach of the George Washington Patriots. Coming up next, we will go through the Week 3 stats leaders, and we'll look ahead to what I got coming up for Week 4 of the high school football and college football season. Welcome back in. Final segment here of the Kanawha Valley Sports Notebook. Special thanks to head coach Steve Edwards Jr., the head football coach of the George Washington Patriots. He is at 199 career wins. You heard that right. 199 career wins. He is one away from the number 200 as the Patriots take on the Black Eagles of South Charleston this Friday night. So good luck to Coach Edwards and the Black Eagles as those two will tango on the gridiron to see who gets the W. South Charleston is also looking for their first W of the season. And we also talk about legendary coaches that have gotten 200 wins at one school. Let's just say he's going to be in a very elite group in regards to head football coaches here in the state of West Virginia and its history in its entirety. So before we go any further, we have two great sponsors that I would love to shout out. As always, they make this program happen. The first is Mountain Care Network. Mountain Care Network was designed to increase accessibility to mental health services and decrease the stigma associated with mental health treatment in West Virginia. Check them out by going to their website, mountaincarenetwork.com. That's mountaincarenetwork.com. And the fine folks over at 5th Street Brewing with over 12 beers on tap. Go check them out at their location at 180 Summer Street in Charleston. Great food selection, as I told you before. The crab rangoon sandwich, as they say with the millennials nowadays, it is a chef's kiss. So go check them out as they got a great selection of food down there in downtown Charleston. So again, as I said in the first segment, let's take a look back at our Week 3 stats leaders from passing, receiving, and rushing.
We the best, no contest. My clique is the best. We the best. There ain't no one like cause of you dumb or you crazy. There's no way, G. Me and my clique, we handling biz while you and your clique just act fugazi. You couldn't persuade me to give a damn, it just don't faze me. I got my Xbox, she can't play me. Money in a text box, I get paid. We the best. We the best. No contest. My clique is the best. We the best. We the best. No contest. My clique is the best. We the best. There ain't no rest. For the wicked, I'm bad and I'm blessed. Put it to the test. For the rest, there ain't no contest. So what's next? Got me leveling up, I'm obsessed. I bring the fire like I'm possessed. My personnel and my clique is the best. There ain't no contest. There ain't no one like cause of you dumb or you crazy. There's no way, G. Me and my clique, we handling biz while you and your clique just act fugazi. You couldn't persuade me.
Some would say I had a great week in regards to staff picks. Last week I went 9-1 in my staff picks. I swept the board in high school football. Didn't work out so well in college football with WVU giving me my only loss last week as they suffered a loss up in Pittsburgh to the Panthers in the backyard brawl. So 9-1 last week. Let's go ahead and look ahead to Week 4 of the high school and college football season. Here are my picks. I like Spring Valley over Midland, Capital over St. Albans, Nitro over Chapmanville, Mingo Central over Man, and Polka over Logan. That's my high school board. And on the college side of things, I like Kansas over WVU, Ohio State over Marshall, Clemson over North Carolina State, Utah to go on the road and defeat the Oklahoma State Cowboys, and the USC Trojans going into the Big House and taking down the reigning national champion Michigan Wolverines in what should be a fantastic contest on Saturday. That'll do it for us. Be sure to check us out on your social media platforms, wherever you get your social media, whether it's Twitter, you can find us there by going to our Twitter page, Gaz Mail Sports, that's G-A-Z Mail Sports. Go check out our brand new Facebook page, HD Media Sports, our website, wvgazettemail.com, for all the latest in regards to activities going on in the Kanawha Valley and Tri-State area as well. Again, I'm your host, Taylor Kennedy. Thanks again to our two sponsors, Mountain Care Network and 5th Street Brewing, and also special thanks to producer Ethan Young for putting this together as always. And I will see you all next week for another edition of the Kanawha Valley Sports Notebook.